Welcome to tonight's international news. Let's hear the headlines first. Donald Trump halts WHO funding for covering up spread of coronavirus. UN warns of another dangerous epidemic, misinformation on coronavirus. Women leaders are doing a disproportionately great job at handling the pandemic. So why are not there more of them? Can heal US in dark times. Barack Obama endorses Joe Biden for president. And repeated bouts of social distancing may be needed until 2022, Harvard study. These are the headlines. Let's jump into the details news now. US President Donald Trump on Tuesday cut off funding to the World Health Organization, accusing the UN body of mishandling the coronavirus crisis as governments grapple with how and when to get their struggling economics back to work. The deadly pandemic has already killed more than 125,000 people and infected nearly 2 million worldwide since it first emerged in China last year. The novel coronavirus has also upended the lives of billions of people as nations imposed lockdown measures to curb its spread, undoubtedly reducing the death toll but also sending the global economy into a tailspin. As the tally of deaths and new infections appears to begin leveling off, world leaders and citizens are fiercely debating when to lift stay-at-home orders. Trump said he could see rays of light on the horizon for the world's largest economy, but launched a virulent attack on the WHO for severely mismanaging and covering up the spread of coronavirus. He accused the Geneva-based agency for propagating false information and charged that its reliance on China data had likely caused a 20-fold increase in costs all world. United Nations Chief Antonio Guterres warned that misinformation about COVID-19 on various social media platforms such as WhatsApp is proliferating falsehoods and announced a new UN initiative to flood the internet with facts and science to counter the poison of misinformation that is putting more lives at risk. The UN Secretary General said the global misinfodemic about the novel coronavirus is spreading harmful health advice and snake oil solutions. As the world fights the deadly COVID-19 pandemic, the most challenging crisis we have faced since the Second World War, we are also seeing another epidemic, a dangerous epidemic of misinformation, Mr. Guterres said. Falsehoods are filling the airwaves. Wild conspiracy theories are infecting the internet. Hatred is going viral, extremism and vilifying people and groups. The world must unite against the disease too, he added, urging countries to reject the lies and nonsense out there. Mr. Guterres announced a new United Nations Communications Response Initiative to flood the internet with facts and science while encountering the growing sources of misinformation, a poison that is putting even more lives at risk. In Taiwan, early intervention measures have controlled the coronavirus pandemic so successfully that it is now exporting millions of face masks to help the European Union and others. Germany has overseen the largest scale of coronavirus testing program in Europe, conducting 350,000 tests each week, detecting the virus early enough to isolate and treat patients effectively. In New Zealand, the Prime Minister took early action to shut down tourism and impose a month-long lockdown to the entire country, limiting coronavirus casualties to just 4 deaths. All three places have received accolades for their impressive handling of the coronavirus pandemic. They are scattered across the globe. One is in the heart of Europe and one is in Asia and the other is in South Pacific. But they have one thing in common, they are all led by women. The success of these and other women led governments in dealing with a global pandemic is all the more noteworthy, given the women make up less than 7% of world leaders. Barack Obama endorsed Joe Biden's White House bid on Tuesday, saying his longtime vice president can unify and heal a nation struggling through some of its darkest moments. The formal backing by perhaps the most popular politician in America is the latest shot in the arm of Biden's surging candidacy, and a further sign that Democratic leaders are relying around the party flag bearer ahead of November's election. Joe has the character and the experience to guide us through one of the darkest times and heal us through a long recovery. Obama said in a 12-minute video filmed at his home in Washington and released online. I believe Joe has all the qualities we need in a president right now, Obama said, calling his choice of Biden as running mate in 2008 one of the best decisions I have ever made. The 77-year-old former vice president and Democratic straw is the party's presumptive nominee of to challenge Donald Trump after his lone remaining rival Sanders dropped out of the race last week. The leftist U.S. Senator from Vermont endorsed his former rival on Monday, saying it was time for Americans of all political stripes to come together in support of Biden. A one-off lockdown won't halt the novel coronavirus, and repeated periods of social distancing may be required into 2022 to prevent hospitals from being overwhelmed. Harvard scientists who modeled the pandemic's trajectory said Tuesday. The study comes as the US enters the peak of its COVID-19 caseload and states eye an eventual easing of tough lockdown measures. The Harvard team's computer simulation, which has published in a paper in the journal Science, assumed that COVID-19 will become seasonal, like closely related coronaviruses that cause the common cold, with higher transmission rates in colder months. But much remains unknown, including the level of immunity acquired by previous infection and how long it lasts, the authors said. We found that one-time social distancing measures are likely to be insufficient to maintain the incidence of SARS-CoV-2 within the limits of critical care capacity in the United States, lead author Stephen Kessler said in a call with reporters.